All right, today we're diving into something called the DETRM framework. What is it? Well, it's a really interesting model for governance that's all about taming the chaos we're seeing in the age of AI. The big idea here is to make our systems not just smart, but actually dependable.
So let's just kick things off with a question that I bet hits close to home for a lot of you. Why is it that we have all these amazing tools, more AI, more data, more automation than we know what to do with, but our organizations are still constantly putting out fires? Just dealing with chaos and confusion all the time. And you know what this looks like in the real world, right? You see these decisions that just happen, and you're left scratching your head like, who decided that and why? Or, work gets done, but it feels completely disconnected from the actual strategy. And the automation we build, it's powerful, sure, but it has no memory. It makes the same mistakes over and over. And the classic one, we're all told to trust the system, but nobody can tell you how that trust is actually measured. All this leads to these really fragile reactive systems that are just lurching from one crisis to the next. Okay, here's a perfect analogy for this whole mess. Imagine you've built this incredible race car. The engine, that's your AI or automation, is a monster. It's capable of mind-blowing speed. But you forgot to put in a dashboard or a steering wheel or, brakes. So you have all this raw power but zero control. You're just along for a very fast, very chaotic ride. And that really gets to the heart of it. The problem isn't the tech. It's not the engine's fault. It's something much deeper. It's an invisible structural problem with how we've built the whole car, the whole organization. Right. The engine is doing exactly what we built it to do. The problem is this huge imbalance. We've poured everything into making the car faster, more speed, more intelligence, but we've totally neglected the systems needed to actually manage that power. There's no accountability built in.
And this is exactly where the DETRM framework steps in. If the problem is a missing control system, DETRM is that system. It's the dashboard, the steering wheel, and the brakes, all working together, all designed from the ground up for one thing: control and accountability.
So what exactly is DTRM? Well, the name itself is a dead giveaway. It stands for Decision, Execution, Trust, and Resilience. And here's the key. In most places, these four things are treated like totally separate departments or ideas. They're afterthoughts. DTRM's big idea is to say, nope, you have to weave them together structurally into one single accountable system. And this is a huge shift in how we think about this stuff. Governance isn't some boring compliance checklist you tick off at the end. The argument here is that governance has to be an architectural layer. It's part of the blueprint. It's in the foundation of everything you build, right from the very beginning. Okay, so this whole framework rests on four pillars of accountability. And the really important thing to get is that you can't separate them. It's not a buffet where you can pick and choose. You need all four working in sync if you want to build something that's actually dependable.
So let's break them down. Let's look at what each of these four pillars actually means in the real world.
First up, decision integrity. Okay, so imagine you have an AI trading bot. Right now, it might just make a huge trade and you're left wondering why. With decision integrity, that could never happen. The system would have to record exactly which AI model made the call, what data it looked at to make that call, and what it was trying to achieve. It completely gets rid of those mysterious black box decisions. All right, pillar number 2, execution traceability. This is all about connecting the what to the why. So back to our trading bot. Every single step of that trade, placing the order, getting the confirmation, everything is permanently linked back to that original decision. And here's the really smart part. The result of that trade, profit or loss, gets fed back into the system. The bot actually learns from its actions. Pillar 3 is trust anchoring. And honestly, this is a pretty radical concept. It says trust isn't some fuzzy feeling or a word you slap in a marketing brochure. No, trust is an engineered property. It's something you design and build into a system. And that means you can measure it. You can look at its transparency, its consistency, its auditability, and you can say, yes, this system is X% trustworthy. And the last pillar is resilience by design. Now, most people hear resilience and think disaster recovery, how fast can we get back online? This is different. This is about building the system from day one to absorb a hit, to adapt on the fly without breaking. And this is key, to actually learn from that disruption so it doesn't happen again. It gets stronger from its failures. Okay, so those are the pillars. That's the big picture philosophy. But you're probably thinking, how on earth do you actually do this? Well, that's where the practical side comes in, the DTRM data taxonomy. This is the toolkit that turns governance from a PDF sitting on a server somewhere into actual working system logic. At the heart of this whole toolkit is a really simple but powerful rule: no more orphaned data. What does that mean? It means every single bit of information in your system, every log file, every alert, every click, has to be tagged. It has to be classified with one of 4 markers. This simple act forces context onto everything. A random, meaningless data point just can't exist anymore. Let's just zero in on the 2 big ones: decision and enforcement markers. Think of it like this. A decision marker, or a D marker, is the system's green light. It's the go signal that kicks off an action. An enforcement marker, or an E marker, is the opposite. It's the red light. It's the stop signal that blocks something from happening to protect the system, kind of like a security check or a quality control gate. And this is where the magic happens. This is how you get a self-healing system. So let's say a server starts slowing down. The old way? You get a vague error alert. The DTRM way is totally different. The system detects the spike, classifies it, maybe as an E for enforcement, and then generates a detailed, structured complaint. Then it automatically kicks off the right fix, like rebooting that specific server. It's the difference between just yelling fire and actually having an automated sprinkler system. So when you combine the big ideas, the 4 pillars, with the practical tools, that data taxonomy, you start to see the ultimate goal here. This isn't just about better tech. It's about fundamentally changing how our organizations, our institutions, actually work. This really is the core shift. It's about moving away from what's called governance theater, the show we put on with checklists just to say we did it, and moving towards governance as architecture. It stops being this reactive, bolt-on thing you do at the end. Instead, accountability is proactive. It's baked in from the very beginning, building strong, resilient systems by design.
And let's be clear, this isn't just a new policy you write up. This is a deep operational change. When you adopt DETRM, you're making a real commitment. You're committing to actually linking authority to accountability, to treating trust like a real metric you can measure, and to designing resilience in, not adding it on later.
Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't just to be the fastest or the smartest. The real vision is to build organizations that are durable, that are dependable, institutions that can actually stand the test of time, especially as we hand over more and more control to automated systems. It really all boils down to one powerful idea. When you stop treating decision, execution, trust, and resilience as separate things, and you fuse them into one single unified system, your goal changes. You're no longer just chasing efficiency. You're building for dependability. So I'll leave you with a question to think about for your own world. Take a hard look at your organization, at your systems. Are they just built to be fast, to be efficient? Or are they truly engineered, from the ground up, to be dependable?